Hello, You Can Heal family. We are live today reading our December 8th Jesus Calling. Now, I did not get a chance to read this morning. My day's been pretty full. I had to get Brent to an appointment this morning, and then I just left a meeting, so I'll tell you about that good news afterward. But I want to get right to the reading today, and yes, you're going to have to look up the scriptures on your own today. I'm not going to be able to read them to you because I need to get back home to my assistant. But I wanted to read the calling. You're hearing my voice, but it's Jesus talking to you. And then I'll leave you with the scriptures. And then maybe we can have a chat and I can share with you what happened this morning and you can ride with me. I've never driven and shot a video. So if you're tuning in, we can do this together for the first time. So the Jesus Calling says, your needs and my riches are a perfect fit. I never meant for you to be self-sufficient. Instead, I design you to need me, not only for daily bread, but also for fulfillment of deep yearnings. I carefully crafted your longings and feelings of incompleteness to point you to me. Did you get that? In our incompleteness, he uses that, the weaknesses we have, the things that we aren't good at, so we can rely on him, that we can be directed towards or pointed to Christ to help us to be our strength in our weakness. Isn't that really good? In our incompleteness, he points us to him. I love that. Now, it goes on to say, therefore, do not try to bury or deny these feelings. Beware also of trying to pacify these longings with lesser gods, people, possessions, and power. Nothing can replace Jesus. Do not try to use people or possessions or power. Nothing compares to God, right? Nothing compares to him. So be very careful when sometimes we can get so distracted or we're so far off from God that we fill it with other things so we don't have to look at ourselves and look at Christ. We don't want to do that. Come to me in all your neediness, with defenses down and with desire to be blessed. As you spend time in my presence, your deepest longings are fulfilled. Rejoice in your neediness, which enables you to find intimate completion in me. So when you need him most, don't run away. Don't hide. Don't turn from the scriptures, but turn to God in that time and let him be everything for you. He wants to be. He wants you to need him. He wants you to need him. If any of you have kids, when they come to you for something, you kind of like that, right? Well, maybe if you're a new parent, if you've been parenting a long time, sometimes you want your kids to leave you alone, but for the most part, you want your kids to come to you. You want people you love to need your help. And that's how God feels. He wants us to come to him and help us with our incompleteness, with our shortcomings and character flaws. The scriptures today are Philippians 4:19 and Colossians chapter 2, verses 2 and 3. So go ahead. You can do this. You can do this. I'm not reading them today, but you can look them up, Philippians 4:19 and Colossians chapter 2, verse 2 and 3. The reason I'm not reading, I have to get home by 2:15, but I didn't want to skip a day with our Jesus Calling. So there's that. I'll put that over there. I'm going to start my car. Like I said, I've never made a video and driven down the street. So let's see how this... I'm not Tony Gaskins and I'm not Lisa Smiles, but I wanted to share that happened today. So I had to take my daughter to an appointment, and it ended up with us having a really good conversation where she shared with me how she really felt about her dad not being in the home. So if there are any moms, single parents, or anyone who's been in a relationship and the father is not in the home, then this might help you. Or, it might help you hearing what I experienced today. So my daughter always comes home from school with some things that are concerning her about what's going on in the classroom and with her little friends. And it's always everybody else's fault. And I had to say to her last night, you got to look at yourself sometimes too, to really know what it is that's bothering you about someone else. Because usually it's things that bother us about other people that we have that habit or we have that issue, right? So when we see it in someone else, it's so magnified that we're like, wow, that bothers me. But it bothers you because you probably do it. Now, the other thing that came up is always wanting other people to change so we can feel okay or be better. And I heard her saying that, like, if my dad would come see me or call or whatever, then I wouldn't feel so bad. And I said, you know, honey, Brent, if that never happens, Dolly, if he never comes back to visit you or to see you, are you always going to be feeling bad? And this was so hard for her to hear. And then she was crying. Now, I don't know if this camera goes black. Does the picture go dark? I don't know how this works. But she was saying, I was trying to say to her, like, if your dad doesn't come see you every week or twice a month or once a month, then Lisa, hi, I'm glad you're here. I'm doing this driving. So this is kind of like an experiment video, and I'm sharing what happened, a conversation between Brent and I. So if I I don't know what's going on here. Hold on. Let me turn this vehicle. Are you still there? Is this thing still working? Okay, now where was I in the story? Oh, yeah, I said, Brent, if your dad never comes to visit once a week, twice a month, once a month, and that makes you sad, then you're going to always feel bad because he's never going to be here to make you feel better. Like, you're trying to get your dad coming here to see you to relieve your pain. You've got to understand that he has a choice, and that choice doesn't reflect you. And she just cried. Well, I don't feel like I'm good enough or worthy or anything. And this broke my heart when you hear your little daughter crying and sharing what she's experiencing because her dad is not in the home. And I couldn't rescue her from the pain. I couldn't tell her everything's going to be fine because in reality, her reality is not fine. She's hurting. So I had to say to her, you have to do this work as a 9-year-old and go through what you're feeling, because letting it in or holding it in is causing you to not form healthy relationships within your classroom or the neighborhood or ballet or wherever you are. So you've got to understand that someone else's behavior, Brent, doesn't make you you. Like, you're you because God created you. God knew I was going to be your mom. God knew the relationship was not going to work out with your dad, yet he still put you here on this earth in spite of all those circumstances he already knew. So, Dolly, you've got what it takes to make it through, to be strong enough to go through what you're feeling and expressing those things. And let me tell you, she just cried. She just cried, and then she got in my lap and cried, and it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. So for all parents out there who are raising kids that one parent is not in the home, it's hard on the kids. And I used to have a lot of guilt because I knew my daughter was hurting and it was my fault because I divorced her father. And I had to let that go. I had to let that go. And I had to trust God with my life and with my kids' lives and know that he's working it out for good, because I love God and she's growing a relationship with God, and God wouldn't give her anything that she can't handle, even though she's smaller. So for her to come to the realization that she needs to work through her dad not being present in her life daily or on weekends or anything is her reality, and come out of that denial. Like, stop. We've got to stop like acting like it, and just really feel what we're feeling and deal with it and go through that pain and do the work. Last night I had her write down, because this conversation started last night, and I had her write down, what makes you angry? That was the title of the journal entry. And I said, no sentences, just make bullet points. And before she went to bed, she's running to me, with her notebook. And she's like, I've got 34 things. I'm like, wow, 34 things. That was good. So She's like, do you want to hear him? I said, no, you just sit with him. It was your private time with God, and we'll look at him tomorrow or after your appointment or whatever. So proud of that work. And yeah, our kids hurt too. And we as adults, we know what it's like for us when we lose a relationship. Even if it hasn't been a healthy relationship, it still hurts because you spent so much time with that person trying to make it work. You've invested your time, your energy, your money, right? Your money. Oh gosh, your money, right? All these things, and it fails, right? It doesn't work. But we've got to remember, nothing is ever really a failure because we're growing from it, the experience, and we're being able to learn from it and help someone else with the pain we went through. And then I said to my daughter, just think, you're 9, just think how many kids you can help who are younger, who don't have parents in their home. And if you push through this and get your healing, you're going to be able to serve other people. And that's what God wants. He chose you. And I told her she has what it takes. So that's really good. So then to top it off, and then I think I'm going to be done here, is she showed me in her journal this picture. And there was this picture of a lady with her hair sticking up all over. Her face was red. And she had the eyebrows, going down like this, pointing down, and her face just really mad looking. And the caption was, "This is my mom, when she's mad at me." I said, oh my goodness. And I had to look at that picture. This is my mom yelling and mad at me. And it had to check me. Because sometimes when Brent gets going, oh yeah, I can be nice for so long, and then, these kids aren't listening, and then you lose it. So I had this image of me with my hair going everywhere, the eyebrows going in, the face just really mad, and then she even knew how to have the lines like coming out of your head, like you were like, ah! I said, oh my goodness, my little child. But she did really good work. And I had to look at the picture, and I couldn't say, hey, I don't do that. I had to own it. So I had to have a little growing lesson there. But the children will teach us things, and our kids hurt too when we end relationships and finally get the strength to do that. They're going through a lot as well. So let's love on our kids. Love on yourself, hug yourself. I'm at a red light, so I will. And just keep going, keep growing, keep healing, and keep doing the work. Speak out loud what your thoughts are, write them down, and get them out of you so Satan can't run a field day in your head. And that's another thing. That's another thing she talked about. Like, she keeps hearing these voices telling her she's this, she's no good, she'll never have this, she'll be poor. I mean, just a whole lot of things she was saying. And I had to teach her. So I'm trying to coach my daughter at this 9-year-old level. When you hear those thoughts, you have to say, okay, would God say that to me? Would God talk to me like that? If the answer is no, cast it down and fill it with what he would say, which is generally the opposite of what those voices are, because they're straight from the pit. They're straight from the pit. Oh, they are. They are. So, yeah, that was my morning. So I was looking at the clock as this conversation was happening, and I had to remember my kids come first, because I was going to make the video when I was waiting to pick up my little preschool child. I was going to make the Jesus Calling video, but my baby needed me, and it was a really good thing. So we hugged it out, and then she was able to go into school really happy today, and it was good. So it was good for both of us. And I think the one thing we can be proud about as parents is when our kids are hurting and they're going through something, let's try not to act like it doesn't bother them, or you're so small, you're not really hurting, because they are, and they just want to be heard just like we do. They want someone to hear us and understand, and let them know that we're there for them. So yeah, that's been my day. So now I'm I left the church. So this was my good news. I did that first in-group mini coaching workshop that went really well, and the ladies there wanted it to continue. So I just had a meeting with my pastor, and I'm trying to get home by 2:15 to relieve my assistant because I had her work last minute so I could do this meeting. And I have permission to use the building the whole year of 2023 to do the in-person group mini coaching workshop. So I'm really excited about that. I have all the Saturdays on the calendar, on the church calendar, and I'm excited about that. It was great news today. Great news today. And yay! It's really good news. So that's about it. I'm almost home, so I'm not going to talk until I get home because I'm going to need a minute to take some deep breaths before I walk into my house and have to deal with the children. Yeah, I'm going to give myself these last 2 minutes, but I want to thank Lisa Smiles. Shout out to her, because I always think of her when I'm driving and I have thoughts that I want to share. So she's encouraged me to get on this YouTube live while you're driving. And it's not too bad if I don't want to keep looking at the camera. And okay, she said save this video. So now I got to figure out how to do that. Okay, so Lisa must be saying after you do this, it has to save. So I got to figure that out. Yeah, so you're welcome, Lisa, and anybody else listening. I hope this video brought value to you. If you have kids who are dealing with parents who split up, maybe share it out with your close girlfriend or someone. Only if you think it'll help. If you don't think it will help, don't share it, right? Because that wouldn't make sense. But if you think it would, go ahead and do that. And once again, I'm happy to be able to spend time with you. Don't forget to look up those scriptures in the Jesus Calling, because I didn't read them to you today. I trust that you can do it. And always remember that true healing begins with self-love. Why? Because God is love and He lives on the inside of you. All right, we'll talk soon. Bye. I gotta figure out how to turn this off. It looks like Tracy Ann just joined. Hi, Tracy Ann. I love